guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We're going to address something today that has been brought to my attention, although I have seen it firsthand on the interweb, and it's an issue with saddle screws protruding or sticking up too tall. Let's get to work. I got a smirk on my face because I got a laugh. Some of you may recognize this guitar. We just did a setup on it. It's Eric Clapton Signature Series with an active circuit in it. It's got kind of a boost on it. Anyway, we did a full setup on it. We unblocked the trim and did all that stuff. And as I did the setup, sure enough, the saddle screws are sticking up a little tall. Measurements are perfect. Guitar plays like butter. It will play perfectly fine with these saddle screws protruding like that. Let me see if I can get a shot of it. Right there where these saddle screws are kind of protruding. They stick up. Now, it will not affect the way the guitar plays. But strumming, yeah, you could rub your finger against it and hit it. So I get a smirk whenever it was brought to my attention on some other guitar, and the guy that owned this, I mentioned it to him, and he says, well, I was reading about that, and you need to do it the right way, because, you know, guys on the internet say everything from you need to replace your bridge to take the screws out and grind them down. That is a humongous fail. That is wrong. The reason these screws are protruding like this is because every guitar is like a fingerprint, and when the route was cut out of here and the neck, and they're mated together. The neck is made separately from the guitar, and then eventually they go, okay, they pull this neck off the shelf and this body, and they go, this is going to be this guitar. They don't all fit exact. It's not precise, exact, like, you know, laser cut metal would be, as it were. And you can have slight variations in neck angle, and that's what causes that. And Leo Fender was clearly aware of it because he invented a system called the Auto-Shim, which this particular guitar has. So you do not take these saddle screws out and grind them down so that they don't protrude. That is just a fail, and it's wrong. And I don't care how many of you out there disagree and say, oh, I've done it. You know, I know technicians that have done it. Plain and simple, just wrong, and in my opinion, stupid. So what you would have to do is knock the neck off and put a hardwood shim underneath the neck in the body pocket, and that will bring up the heel of the neck slightly and facilitate pulling these out, dropping them down, as it were. So you're going to raise the saddles up slightly. They're sticking up a little bit, quite a bit actually. For the kind of guitar this is, I'm a little surprised that, you know, that is. But my guess is they didn't have this adjusted properly. So on an Auto-Shim, I'm not going to pull the whole neck off to show you what's under there, because this is too nice a guitar and it does not need to come off. If it has the Auto-Shim, which down in that little hole right there, okay, down in that little hole right there between the two bolts, the two neck screws, as it were, is a 1/8 Allen set screw. And on the other side of that, embedded into the neck, over here, underneath the neck, okay, is a steel peg that is pushed right into it's drilled and pushed in there. So you loosen the bolts, and I'm going to illustrate how we do this. We're going to loosen the bolts, and then you actually turn that set screw in against that steel stop. And what it effectively does is it takes your neck angle right here and pops it up slightly. And that will get you the rest of your adjustment on your set screws down here. My guess is it was not adjusted properly from the factory, because on a brand new guitar, they should not be like that. Will it play perfectly well fine like that? Yes. Okay, no problem. As long as you're not scrubbing your hand against it and bleeding all over your white guitar, it makes no never mind to me. But to say it one more time, you don't take those screws out and grind them down and sand them down or cut them down and put them back in there. All you're doing is losing adjustment. So if you don't have that auto-shim function, yeah, we have to pop the neck off and put a hardwood shim under there, and it effectively does the same thing. And that is a common practice. It happens, and over time, guitars tend to need it. Guitars, basses, what have you. Wood will shrink, and tolerances will change, and the neck will start to set farther down into the pocket, and thus you get this kind of weird action. So I'm going to try to illustrate this. So what we do is we have to loosen all the bolts. And of course, when we get done with this, we're going to have to do a setup again. We're going to have to kind of, make our saddle adjustments and neck relief and all that stuff. I'm going to loosen the strings a little bit. They don't have to be completely taken off, just enough to loosen them. Yeah. Take the set screws out and cut them. My goodness. You guys can argue that until the cows come home. Shimming a neck, common practice. And this particular one comes with a function to do just that. So, yeah, you got to loosen the bolts. Not a lot, just loosen them up. And it's these two down here that are actually going to get us some adjustment. Loosen them, and then you take your 1/8 Allen wrench, slide it in there, and you should be able to get a turn. I'm going to do about a half a turn and see what that gives us. And if we have to do it again, well, we have to do it again. And you tighten them down. And just another example of Leo Fender was a genius. He came up with this invention because it's a hell of a lot easier than taking the whole neck out and putting a hardwood shim in there. And that's, in the old days, that was the only way to do it. And Leo Fender, his mantra was every instrument should be easily maintained and repaired. And that's why he didn't believe in set necks. He bolt on the neck. If something happens, the neck snaps in half, something really bad goes wrong, just put a new neck on it. You got a Gibson. Do you know what you have to go through on a Gibson to remove the neck? Yeah. So, two trains of thought there. So, let's tighten her back up and see if we gained anything. And I can tell you already we have, because guess what? Our strings are all the way down on the board. And all I did was a half a turn. I may have gone too far. We'll find out. A half a turn should have gotten us what we need, because that looks to me to be about 4 to 5/64 on the tallest one. So let's get. I'm just going to run them all up until I get them off the board, and then we will go to tuning it and go through that procedure. Oops. Did we get it enough that the screws are going to go all the way down level or below the saddle surface? Maybe not all the way, but you know what? We're going to get them really goddamn close. These are not my favorite kind of saddles. Not my favorite kind of saddles. But we'll see. I'm just going to take them up, and then we're going to measure. And I can't wait to hear from all the know-it-alls out there that are going to tell me, no, you can't do that. You're going to run out of screw. No, you won't. No, you won't. You're going to run out of adjustment if you do that. Well, why did they put that function on there then? Why would they put that adjustment there to be able to change your neck angle? I wonder. I wonder. Just trust your Uncle Blackjack. He knows what he's talking about. Get these down where they're not protruding all the way. And it's going to have a much nicer aesthetic too. It'll look better. I can't wait to read the comments. I just bring them all up to level, and then we'll measure and adjust. And again, remember, keep all your saddles level with the deck. You don't have to put a level on it. You just have to eyeball and make sure they're level. And then when you adjust, put the same turns on each screw as you adjust. Let's just tune it and measure and see where we're at, just to make sure we're at tension. Hope you guys are following along with this and understanding it. We may even have to adjust the trim again because we're changing all kinds of stuff here. Seems to be trying to be stable already. We'll see. I'm going to measure everything. The neck, I'm going to do the whole setup all over again. Just to change that neck angle, I'm going to double check everything else. So customer wants to be right around 4, and I had it set up at just over. So you can read the 4/64 line. You can actually see the line, so it's just over it. That one needs to come up just a bit more. I know you guys, you can't see this really well, but now we're fine-tuning the saddle height. You know, that may change. We may need to go back and tweak that a little bit as we check, you know, how our spring tension is in the back and the rest of the setup and what have you. But that's all good because I can tell you that the screw heads now are almost level with the saddles. Yeah. All right, where's my thing? Perfect. 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 So I only had to adjust 1 or 2 of them. Retune. This guitar has been settling for about 48 hours. I unblocked it, did a full setup on it. Some of you have seen that video already. And I came in this morning to check the tuning, and it was perfectly dead on. So the strings are pretty much stretched. They might stretch a little bit more, but everything had found nice equilibrium. How much will this set it off, the neck angle? Don't know. We're going to find out right now, though. Now this thing is going to have to find equilibrium again. I had this set exactly where I wanted. We got too much lift, which means I'm going to have to drive in the screws underneath. And I was kind of expecting that. I had it set exactly where I wanted it. It's just too tall. And I'm talking about saddle relief, where the saddle pops up off the deck. I had it at just a 1/16 of an inch. You could barely put the feeler gauge in it. And right now, it's a little too tall. So without even tuning it anymore, I'm just going to drive those screws in and put a little more tension to pull that saddle down. That's all part of setting up a guitar. And because we changed the neck angle, yeah, it's going to affect this. Just a quarter of a turn. I'm going small increments when you're close there. And what we're doing is trying to put less string tension and more spring tension. And that is bringing us down to where we want to be. I'm just going to do this by hand. It should want to keep coming down in small increments. So we're going to pause there and let it settle. I like the lift. The lift looks nice now. It's good. That little bit of tweak on the springs, but we got to let it kind of springs, you know, and strings, the tension has to work against each other and settle into equilibrium. I know I say that a lot when we're doing a trim, but that's just the vernacular that I use. And then we're going to check neck relief and string height and all that stuff again, and we're going to hit the whammy a couple of times. But in the meantime, I'm going to, off camera, I'm going to pause and let it settle for 15 minutes and then come back and we'll finish it, okay? Stand by. So after it settles, comes back into tune almost perfectly. Which I'm digging on. And we have nice relief right there. The bridge is just pulling off of the deck a 1/16 of an inch. My feeler gauge just barely goes in. And that's what I like. That's where I set it. You can go higher, you can go lower. If you go much lower than that, you're actually touching the deck. So just because I'm a nut and I always do check, I know what we did as far as the shim and the string height will not affect neck relief, but I'm still going to look at it because it's just who I am. It is dead on. It's right where I set it before. It is perfect. It is perfect. And you can just see a slight relief in it. And that's where I set it. 12 thousandths at the 7th. But that'll change with humidity and, you know, weather changes, what have you, atmospheric changes. String height after it's settled. Customer wants it at 4/64. I'm sure it will play there, as long as you're not really grinding on it, because you will get some buzzing, you know, at 4. If it's not a stable instrument. If the instrument allows it, okay, I'm cool with that. Yeah, I'm totally cool with that. Let's just double check. Make sure I'm in the video here. It just shows 4/64, so the whole line. Yep. 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 Okay. He wants 4/64s. That's what he's going to get. Now, if the instrument will bear it and it will allow it and it will accept that height, that string height, and there's no reason for it not to, the way that I have it set up. You know, if it isn't reacting well and he needs to adjust the string height up, all you got to do is a quarter of a turn on each one of these and then retune it. That won't change spring or neck relief tension. But you can definitely go up slightly and still be lower than where I would normally do. Normally on a Strat, 5/64 all the way across the radius. That's what I do. Customer is always right. Customer wants it lower, and I don't have a problem with that. And my instruments, when I set them up, they'll play there. I think it's a little low, but you guys can debate that ad nauseum. So, Let's see how it plays. Turn everything down. It seems a little much on the video sometimes. Let's see if we can get just a quick shot of us playing it. I really like this guitar. I mean, it's pretty honking instrument. So stable, so dead on. No buzzing. Maybe I'm used to working on lower end guitars, lower than this one. This one's really nicely built. It's tight. Everything is crisp and clean on it. It really does feel like it's going to hold that 4/64, that low string action, and that's what he wanted. That's that MDX active circuit. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yep, another beautiful Fender instrument doing exactly what it's supposed to do. That little guy right there, oops, sorry, let me adjust. That little guy right there, that is monstrously loud. I mean, it turns this instrument into a really obnoxious guitar. What happened here? There we go. Sorry about that. That circuit, it says tone on it, but it's like an overdrive. It's an active circuit and it's an overdrive, but man, you can't get that much response from the volume. Interesting, very cool instrument. I love it. So today's lesson showed you just exactly what it takes to lower these saddle screws. Okay, if they're protruding, it will play like that if you get your adjustments and they're settling the adjustments, the string height and what have you, and it's okay. Then you don't have to worry. You don't have to get in a twist over the saddle screws protruding out from the saddle. The reason I don't like them to be sticking out is because as you're strumming, yeah, you could hit that and they could be sharp and you could cut yourself. They could be rough. It could make for a less than pleasurable playing experience. Right now, they're all the way down in level. And that's where I like to see them, you know, compared to what they were. They were literally sticking up 4/64, maybe more, some of them, because I turned the Auto-Shim in the back right there 1/2 of a turn. And when I restrung it or retensioned the strings on it, all the strings were touching the frets. So that tells me if I had it set at 4/64, those things were sticking up 4/64. Now, there is just ever so slightly, every once in a while, you'll see one of them just barely, like one thread sticking up. So it tells me there was maybe, on a couple of them, 5/64 protruding up, sticking up and getting in the way. Now, there's nothing there. That's the way it should be. I think they didn't set the shim in the neck correctly when they built the guitar, mated it to the neck to the body and set the whole thing up. And let's face it, they're building hundreds of these a day, And they don't have a guy like me who's going to take the time to go through every measurement on the guitar. And we all know they don't do that. When they come to the store or come to your front door, they're loose. The strings are loose. The neck is completely straight because they don't want it in a banana or a back bow when they ship it, because they don't know what climate it's going to. They will set it perfectly straight when it leaves the factory. This stuff and this stuff down here, yeah, it's anybody's guess. It's anybody's guess where they set it at. It's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Thanks for hanging in there. Tutorial on, protruding saddle screws. You don't take them out. You don't cut them. I get a grin every time I watch a video about that, or I'll see a post on somebody's blog, and they go, "Yeah, just pull them out." And then these are guitar techs telling players, "Just take them out and grind them down and put them back in." No, that's a fail. We'll talk soon.